All over the world, waste is created on an enormous scale. We consume and we throw it in the bin. And as good taxpayers, we expect municipalities to collect our waste from the bins, and we never give it another thought. Let us hear from those who manage our waste as it leaves our doorstep.
You've seen the City Council's waste removal trucks collecting waste from industries, households and markets as we save the city and keep it clean. I'm also sure you've seen our 700 cleaners moving through the city, picking up the litter on our roads. What you have probably not thought of before is where this waste is going, or considered the cost involved with managing this waste. Annually, the City Council spends 500 million on handling this waste, and this is not enough. We need about double this amount. On top of that, our landfills are overflowing. We need to expand our fleet and replace old vehicles. We need also to consider the rapid growth of the city, the impact of climate change from landfills, and many other waste-related problems. Blantyre City Council cannot do this enormous task of waste management alone.
Wow, 500 million kwacha per year waste management bill for Blantyre City. What about our capital city?
Lilongwe City is the capital city of Malawi and is currently the largest city in the country. We have some over 1 million residents in Lilongwe, and it's also one of the fastest growing cities in Malawi, growing at over 4% per annum. And with this growth, also we see growth in waste generation. There are hundreds of tons of waste that are generated in the city of Lilongwe every day. This waste has got to be managed. And challenges with waste management result in many negative side effects, including disease, including pollution of the air, of water, of soils.
It is time to hear from experts in this field how our waste is impacting our world.
I'm from Bunda College, from the Environmental Science Department. In our department, we're working with students on different ways of managing waste. And one of the methods that we are working on is composting. If we are stockpiling organic waste, like what is happening currently at the waste dumping facilities, the city dumping facilities, the landfills. So in these areas, waste is just sometimes just piled, and that encourages anaerobic conditions. So if this waste is not being aerated and so on, so you encourage anaerobic conditions. Once you have anaerobic conditions with organic material, you have methane that is being produced. So methane is quite potent compared to carbon dioxide. So methane is even 30 times more dangerous than carbon dioxide.
So, even if our waste reaches the landfills, this does not solve the problem. Landfills are limited. Landfills overflow. Worst of all, poisonous greenhouse gases are emitted. This negatively and seriously impacts on our atmosphere. We need to think about this.
Our dump site is in Area 38 in the southern part of the city. The dump site is presenting us with significant challenges because it is a dump site. It's not an engineered landfill site. So management of that dump site is a real problem. But again, we are hoping to work with the partners, maybe including waste advisors and others, to see how even there we can bring in a regime for the proper management of that dump site, especially through waste separation, so that even at that dump site we should be able to separate that waste and be able to add value to different kinds of waste that are brought to the dump site.
The biggest challenge we may face in recycling organic waste is separating at source. If we continue mixing our waste, it becomes very difficult and very expensive to separate it later on down the line. I could compare it to making food. If you add too much salt to your food, you cannot take it out. It would be very difficult. So it's better to separate things at the very beginning. If I take my own experience coming from Ireland, separation at source is very important. We are required, it's an obligation, to separate the waste at our homes, separating the organic waste, the paper waste, the metallic waste. We have separate bins for this. They are separately collected and processed by the private sector. So we find that the separation at source is very important, as it gives us a more clean material to work with. It's more economic rather than sourcing later on down the line. It also very much reduces the size of our landfills, as very little waste goes to our landfills now in Europe these days. Most of it is recycled. It has also created a lot of jobs in the circular economy in Europe, and I think Malawi and other countries in the region can also implement such policies, creating a stronger and more resilient economy and creating jobs for the young people. And now, as we say in Europe, now is the time to repair and prepare for the next generation.
Right, so separation of waste at the source seems to solve the problem. But does the amount of waste really get reduced? How do we make sure that we reduce the amount of waste that goes to our landfills?
We're here at the Lilongwe co-composting site at Kauma on the grounds of the Lilongwe wastewater treatment sites here. Here we'll be receiving waste from around markets all around the city. We'll be able to separate the waste, which is 80% organic, and we'll be able to recycle it into compost. Why we've chosen to recycle organics into compost is because compost is a really valuable product for the agricultural sector.
So, 80% of our market waste is organic? All this can be turned to compost. Why have we not thought about this? Or did we?
There is a common term that developed in the waste management circles called reduce, reuse, and recycle. The Blantyre City Council is a leader in this area in Malawi. Together with waste advisors, we've established a composting facility here in Blantyre, where organic waste is turned into a very valuable farming input called compost. The council is also planning to develop an electricity plant by converting waste into energy. We welcome businesses that can recycle waste into usable products, as it will reduce waste management costs.
I can say that about 8 years ago, the City Council, together with other partners, such as the Luana University, Four Seasons Limited, a private company, and also CCOD, an NGO, together with communities in Mtandire and Msiriza. We wanted to demonstrate how we can have public-private partnerships so that we manage waste in a sustainable way, but also to valorize or to add value to waste so that it becomes a resource that can benefit communities. So in this, we had a project which is called Lilongwe Waste for Wealth Project, where tens of interested individuals, especially women in Mtandire and in Msiriza, set up kind of a cooperative, which has been composting waste from that time up to now, and with very positive results.
Kunogo ndi kuntandire kumene kula azimayi amene amapanga manyowa. Gulu lathuli tinali chati kundani namba chaka cha 2009 ndiye masiku enawa timapanga manyowa amene atatiphunzitsa akubunda koma mamwayi chaka chonchino chaka cha 2020 kunabwera gulu lina limene latatiphunzitsa manyowa otentha. Manyowa amene timapanga kale anali oti timatenga zinyalala za makomomu kuphatikiza ndi zinyalala zina wamba kugwiritsira ntchito zinyalala zimenezo timapanga manyowa amene timaunjika malo amodzi pa 2 weeks timatembenuza, 3 weeks kutembenuza, 4 weeks kutembenuza, 5 weeks kutembenuza, 6 weeks ndiye kuti manyowa aja amapezeka kuti apsa. Manyowa amenewa ndi aphindi. Manyowa amenewa amatha kutigula alimi, amatha kutigula anthu amene akupanga malandscape, amene akulima ndiwo za masamba. Manyowa amenewa ndi abwino kwambiri chifukwa choti china chilichonse chimakhala chaferatu, sikukhalanso kuti kumera zomera zina ayi, makhala kuti amanyowa aja apangika bwino kwambiri chifukwa chakutentha kudya china chilichonse chimafa. Manyowa amenewa ndi abwino oti kwatsira kumunda, ndi manyowa abwino oti anthu mutha kutani kupindula nawonso kwambiri.
Here we are at Hosanna Composting, who were trained by waste advisors to do compost, good quality compost. We as Welthungerhilfe provide the trash, which is then here turned into compost, and the compost is then shipped out again, marketed towards the camps and towards the host communities. There is already a big interest for compost here in the camp by communities who used to dig up actually our landfill site, which of course does not really produce compost, it produces quite a poor soil. Here they can get high quality compost at an attractive price. This site has created employment for 8 people. And we also buy compost from this site to feed it into a tree planting program, community garden program. So it's a circular economy where we have created value to a product that would have otherwise been dumped and forgotten. Welthungerhilfe is the wash lead here in the camp. We are responsible for UNHCR to provide water supply, sanitation and waste management. It's quite a big task. There are 45,000 people living here at the Leka camp who produce 9,000 tons of waste every year. And collecting that waste and dumping it at a final dump site is an expensive, massive task. So let me introduce you to Tresor, who leads the team here.
This is my team. We are working together with them. We are all refugees coming from different places. Some they came from Burundi, some they came from DRC. We are very happy of what we are doing. That is really amazing. You can see even they are far, a little bit far. This is the camp that they are trying to extend because we are so many here.
This is so amazing. So many people are already creating the circular economy. Waste is being turned into organic fertilizer. But is there enough trust in the product? Is there enough market for compost?
Here at Namigango Farm, which is found in Zomba along the Zomba-Jali Road, it's where we grow different kind of crops, more especially vegetables and seed crops. We have very lots of vegetables, tomatoes, radish, spinach, cauliflower, broccoli, green peppers, just to mention a few. So these vegetables are grown here using the local people around. Of course, we have some trained people, but we are also using the local people around, and the whole intention is to provide opportunities of work to the people around here. Previously, we used to sow our seeds in the soil, in seed beds, and the production was not that much okay. We had some challenges, but as of today, we are using seed trays. And in the seed trays, we are not using the soil as such, but we make compost, and we are sowing the seeds in the trays using the compost. And we have realized that using the compost, the production of the seedlings is very fine. We used to have problems with pests, but when we are using the compost, I think we don't have those kind of problems. So the compost is doing much better. It's making a miracle to our farm, because right away from the beginning, when the seedlings are better from the compost, if they come on the ground again, everything is also better. So the compost is very, very good for our production of tomatoes and the vegetables.
We have a lot of a lot of pest pressure coming into tea now. And we don't want to spray any pesticide on the tea. So what we really focused on is trying to build up the bush health and let it develop its own immune system, particularly for pests, but also for dealing with drought, things like that. We found that, the better the nutritional status of the tea, the better it is able to deal with these problems by itself. So that's really our focus, and that where compost is playing a big role in that, with its micronutrients and the microbiology. We're applying the compost by hand. What's quite nice is that a normal program would put on just when the rains start, an inorganic program. With an organic program, you can put it on months in advance and let it just sit there. We also use a lot of compost when we plant new fields out, tea, coffee, eucalyptus, bamboo. Compost really makes a big difference when planting in poor soils particularly. Separation of waste is very important to us. We don't want any old batteries. Heavy metals are an absolute no-no in this business. It's food. We don't want any of that. It was great having a nutritional analysis, but it came out clean.
Wow, seems to me like compost can really contribute to our agricultural sector. Is it really as good as it sounds?
We endorsed the program by Waste Advisors of promoting the use of compost and the production of compost. As Bunda and also as academics at Bunda, we have evidence that compost can be a good alternative to, as a farm input, to substitute inorganic fertilizer, but even to complement inorganic fertilizer. But we've also had trials where we've seen the performance of compost in the fields.
I'm a lecturer at University of Malawi, the Polytechnic, and I do lecture quite a number of courses that touch on environmental management, but also sustainable development and waste management, and all these issues that concern our environment as human beings. And what excites me most is that while we teach these things at the Polytechnic and many other higher education institutions in the country, there are organizations that are taking this theory into practice. And one of them is, of course, the Waste Advisors, which I feel is doing a good job in making this practical connection to the theory that we emphasize on as academics. And it's also nice that these organizations are teaming up with big organizations like Blantyre City Council, for example, who are interested in making these things really work at local level, but also at national level. And what needs to be emphasized here is that this is not magic. This is something that anybody, not even with theories in high education learning institutions, need. You just need to have the basics of the interests that you want to segregate or separate your waste. So things that you can decompose in one basket or in one bin. Mostly we use bins in our households. And the other stuff in another one. And when you separate these waste into biodegradable, non-biodegradable, in other words, things that can decompose and those that cannot decompose, then already you have your waste basket of things that you can use to grow your plants. Tomatoes, cabbages or lettuce or anything that you'd be interested to grow in your backyard. And now gardening is something that we should all appreciate, but it starts with the question of where do we get the food for our plants? Should I go and buy synthetic or inorganic fertilizers, which are very damaging to the environment, and the microorganisms which are in the soil are not happy with the synthetic fertilizers? But if you have compost, you are sure that this is just feeding back to nature. You are inoculating nature, and it doesn't cost you a penny. You have already bought stuff that you want to eat, you have left it over. utilize it into compost, and that will make your plants very happy, and it will make you happy. Everybody will be happy and healthy, and that's something that we want to really encourage.
Our academics are in agreement, but can this be endorsed by other role players in the developed world?
The European Union believes very much in the green economy, and this current crisis of COVID, we are very much focused on the green recovery. We are also working in collaboration with the Malawi National Commission for Science and Technology and the United Nations Environmental Programme to carry out an assessment on the circular economy in Malawi with a particular focus on agriculture and organic waste, with a view to exploring the market potential and the value chains in Malawi. And we believe that this can create a number of job opportunities within Malawi and make Malawi more resilient to crises such as we have now during the COVID, where our logistics are challenged. The European Union is very happy to be supporting this project with Waste Advisors, which is working in collaboration with the Blantyre and the Lilongwe City Councils. It's a project focusing on the circular economy, creating job opportunities through the recycling of organic waste. We say organic waste, but actually it is an organic resource from which we can produce compost, which is a very good substitute for inorganic fertilizers. It has great potential in our agriculture, in building soil condition, adding potential for moisture retention, and it really brings life into our soils and helps us to rebuild our agriculture.
The circular economy is possible. Let's make Malawi a showcase for the world to show that we can reduce, reuse, and recycle. Let us start seeing waste differently. Let's start by separating it at source. Above all, let us start seeing waste as a resource, not just as rubbish.